So this isn't going to be that long of a video. This is just going to be something that I'm going to try to make at the last minute. I don't really have much time to record this. I literally have 40 minutes to make this video. So I'm just going to be going over my opinions and what is going on right now. So don't expect anything too fancy in this video. So I made a few videos talking about Nintendo Switch VR. And the concept, honestly, seemed like a pretty good idea. I mean, having the Nintendo Switch, slotting it into a dock-like system, and then wearing that on your head, and just using that as a VR headset, that could be potentially a cheaper way and a more convenient way to make a VR headset. And although Nintendo denies that they're really going to do it, or they have no plans to do it, I do think that eventually we may see some indication of Nintendo making a VR headset or something like that, because I mean, they haven't really always been about new technology like that. However, in the past they have done stuff kind of similar to a VR headset. I remember when the Famicom, I remember hearing recently that apparently when the Famicom came out, Nintendo released a pair of 3D goggles you wear that basically just made the action. It was like a 3DS in in the 1980s, which it was a very interesting concept. Well, now there is a new piece of evidence pointing towards the idea of Nintendo making a VR headset. Now, I do have to say before I get into what this is, the chances of Nintendo making a VR headset are still low. However, with this new evidence being released, the possibilities just went up a bit. It's still very low, but the possibilities, like I said, are now more probable. So on Twitter, Nintendo Switch developers have been tweeting about some different things going on with the Nintendo Switch source code, and some very interesting things have come out. A guy named Oatmeal Dome on Twitter sent a tweet saying that he found something in the Nintendo Switch code called I::state::getter: set VR mode enabled, and that caught him off guard, and he tweeted about it, and he asked people if they had tried calling it before. And some other people tried it, and one of the people who tried that was random666_KYS, which he's a real Twitter user, I know. And he made a tweet saying that he tried out, he found something, I'll show an image of it, where when you call it, it shows up a menu called HB menu, and it shows an icon saying test VR mode. And when you actually run the code, it doesn't really do a whole lot, but it does show these two screens. It does open up what looks like a command prompt, and it's definitely not fully fleshed out. It's definitely something for developers to tinker with, but it shows two screens, which I'm imagining is for a VR headset, how a VR headset works, where it shows two screens. I'm imagining that's what it's supposed to be. So if you want more details on this, I'll have a link to an article in the description from thenextweb.com, and they talk all about this. However, I want to go over my opinions and if we are going to see a Nintendo Switch VR headset anytime soon. So I'm just not even going to beat around the bush. I'm going to be completely honest. Even though we saw this, I feel like this is nothing more than just future-proofing the Nintendo Switch. So what I mean by that is that if Nintendo in the future, for whatever reason, decide that they do want to make a VR headset, they now have the source code to build upon it. And I feel like adding this VR, these VR settings into the Nintendo Switch made the likelihood go up a bit. And although I still believe what Reggie said about how Switch VR is not happening anytime soon, I think that the chances, we may be seeing one relatively soon, but I feel like the chances have gone up a little bit. And that's really all I can say about a VR headset on the Switch, because there's not much else to say about this besides that Nintendo has put in some building blocks to a VR headset or just a VR system in the future, which that's not incredibly shocking, but because if you are planning on doing something, the best thing to do to make sure that's going to happen is to put in some material for you to work with later on if you do go with that idea. And Nintendo is doing that, and I feel like while we may not be seeing a VR headset from them anytime soon, we could be seeing some new VR technologies implemented into the Switch. For example, maybe just, this is probably not going to happen, but maybe a third-party company is going to do something with that. Maybe they're going to try and release something that turns maybe like a 3D sort of, you know those like 3D screen protectors you can get on your phones? Maybe something like that that uses VR technology, something like that, just to try and work around that. I don't know how this would work, but what this does is that Nintendo is opening up possibilities for people in the future to do different things with the Nintendo Switch. One thing I do want to talk about, though, is that at the end where random shows the two screens, that's most likely what I think that is that Nintendo, if they were to make a VR headset, it would probably just be the Nintendo Switch console sliding into a dock that you put on your head, pretty much, because those three screens show that. Or it could not be, but I feel like that is evidence for us seeing that design being used. But of course, those are just my opinions, and I know this video was very unscripted, very rant-like, and it was probably hard to follow. However, I just wanted to discuss this, and I don't have much time to discuss this, so if you have your own opinions, please let me know them in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to check out my social medias, I'll have them linked in the description. And again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you.